now we go to the reputation side. Ooh, a fun one. Imagine all these flowers as different life experiences that you've gone through. If you look at them all here, this isn't a bouquet. This is just a lot of random things put together. Now, when we do this and we combine them all, we now have something much closer to a bouquet. And when you put all of your personal life experiences and your skills and your character traits together, you create a bouquet. And in other words, you create a reputation. But a bouquet doesn't really exist. All we did was we associated things that were separate and then we put them together. And so you can strengthen your reputation by putting more and similar types of experiences together. So you're like, oh, he's got a strong interest in this thing. Now, if every single one of these would be different, and some of these were weeds, it would be a lot harder to understand what is the point of this thing. And let's say that you had a drunk driving accident, right? All of a sudden, how different does this bouquet look? Which shows you how one negative experience in your life can actually affect how people see the rest of everything else. And so when we're thinking about brand or building a reputation, I like to think of it as what flowers do I want in my bouquet and which things am I ultimately trying to emphasize or not include at all. And what associations are going to be ones that strengthen this and which are going to be ones that break it apart. So reputation is a different word for saying what a brand is. And a brand is simply an association between something you know and something you don't know. When we're building a brand, you want to associate all the things that you want someone to think about you with the thing that they don't know yet, which is you. Now, for me, the more my personal brand has grown, the more I have transposed Acquisition.com's association with me. And so now when my team goes out to the airport and is wearing a hat that says Acquisition.com, people are like, dude, can I buy that hat from you? Because they've gotten value from my videos in my books. They see an association with that value and they want to pay for it. But if this just had a random shape on it, they would have no desire to pay $50. This actually happened. One of my director of HR worked at the airport and a random person came up and was like, can I pay you $100 for the hat? And she said no, obviously, because that's not how our brand works. You gotta earn it. So the idea is that is fundamentally how branding works. If I'm Louis Vuitton, right? I'm gonna be the world's worst Louis Vuitton symbol, right? If I'm Louis Vuitton, what do? I get Kim Kardashian to wear my clothing or carry my purse. And then lady who doesn't have status says, man, I want to be like Kim, but I can't buy Kim, so I buy the thing that I've associated with Kim. And then when I wear it, I'll have the status by proxy from her. And that's fundamentally how the luxury market works. But it's also how every market works. Now, why do brands drop celebrities when they make a racial slur, or they get into an accident, or they get arrested for fraud? Because that becomes an association that people do know, and then they don't like. And so they say, I don't want to associate our brand with that. And so they say, we're going to break this association. And so when you're building a brand, it's being very particular about what and who you want to associate with. If I have a porn star next to me, and I have a porn star co-host, you're going to think very different things about me, even if the material is exactly the same. And you might be like, that's flawed. Welcome to humanity and psychology, right? Doesn't matter about whether it's flawed or not. I can just tell you that this is how it works. And so when you're building a reputation, especially in the B2B or the B2C space, you want to provide value, right? We talked about value creation earlier. And so it means that you want to give things that people want in a fast and easy way for them to consume that's risk-free. And so when we do that, you compound customer surplus. The street word for that is goodwill, which is what amount of value did someone get in excess of what they paid for. So let's say I paid $1 for something and I feel like I got $5 worth of value, right? Everything here between the two lines is customer surplus, or what we like to call goodwill. But the interesting thing about this is that if I do this over and over and over again, these things aren't additive. In my experience, they've been multiplicative. Meaning if I keep providing something good, and that's why it's so hard as a brand to decide, when do I want to monetize something? Because the thing is that the next time you provide even more value, when people think that you're going to monetize, they love you that much more, and you get that much more reach and more goodwill so that the next time, and so it's basically reinvesting, but rather than reinvesting capital, you're reinvesting goodwill. Because what I can tell you is that goodwill compounds faster than revenue. You can build a $100 million brand in 3 years And to build $100 million in revenue might take you way longer than that. And that's because if you just focus on providing goodwill at scale, you get a disproportionate return. The Rock was able to overnight build Terramana into a $6 billion company simply based on his brand. And Huda Beauty built her beauty line into a $1 billion brand. Conor McGregor with Proper 12, $1 billion brand. George Clooney, $1 billion brand. And so they understood this concept, which is that this will grow faster. And so they disproportionately invest early into this so that later they can monetize and do the right hook, the big bloop to the audience. And to quote Uncle Warren, it doesn't matter how much goodwill you have, any number, no matter how big it is, multiplied by 0 equals 0. So if you make a bet in the investing world that you then lose all the money, and you had 30 years of good investing and you go all in on one bet and you lose it all. You undo 30 years of good decisions with one bad decision. And that's the thing that a lot of people don't calculate when they think about their personal brand. If we're going back to these flowers like I had earlier, if I have this one broken flower, it forever affects the way this bouquet looks. Imagine you gave this to your wife or your girlfriend and you just said, hey, here you go. You'd be like, it's such an eyesore that it distracts from all the other flowers that you have. And so that's why making sure that you never risk your reputation to make the short money so that you can let the goodwill keep compounding, let the party keep going, is one of the smartest and hardest long-term business decisions. Because believe me, if I started OnlyFans tomorrow, I'll bet you probably make a lot of money. It's like, but it would be like this broken flower and it would permanently affect how people perceive me and the brand that I ultimately want to build.